The warning light. Alex Brantley's night started like any other. It was 3 a.m., and the hum of the Clearwater nuclear power plant felt oddly soothing, like the steady rhythm of a machine that knew its purpose. Alex had worked here for over 5 years. He knew the routine, knew the safety checks like the back of his hand. His job was simple: monitor the reactor, keep an eye on the cooling systems, and make sure everything ran smoothly. Nothing ever went wrong until tonight. He walked down the long, sterile hallways, the fluorescent lights above flickering slightly as he passed. It was quiet, almost too quiet. There was always something off-putting about the dead of night in the plant, like the machines were holding their breath, waiting for something to happen. But Alex shook off the feeling. He was being paranoid. He had a job to do. He entered the control room, where the massive screens lined the walls, flashing with numbers and graphs. His seat behind the thick glass was the same as always. The reactor's readings were stable. Everything was fine. No spikes, no fluctuations, nothing out of the ordinary. Then the alarm went off. It was a soft beep at first, barely noticeable, but Alex knew it. A warning. Probably a minor glitch. He pulled up the system diagnostics and checked the status of the core. Nothing. The numbers were all in the green. No increase in temperature. No pressure build-up. Everything was operating normally. He glanced at the screen again, but the warning light blinked brighter now, turning from yellow to red. Emergency protocol, reactor core. Alex frowned. He pressed a few buttons, pulling up more data. Still, everything seemed fine. No reason for the alarm. Maybe it's just a malfunction, he thought. Nothing to worry about. But then the alarm blared again, this time louder, more urgent. It felt different, like the room was closing in on him. The words on his screen changed. Reactor meltdown imminent. Alex froze. His heart skipped. That wasn't possible. He scanned the console, his hands shaking now as he checked every reading: power levels, coolant flow, temperature regulation. Everything was normal. No, this can't be happening. He quickly typed in commands, running diagnostic tests to figure out what was wrong, but the alarms wouldn't stop. They got louder, sharper, drowning out the sound of his own thoughts. He pulled up the reactor core readings again. His eyes widened as he saw a small spike in pressure, not enough to cause a meltdown, but enough to trigger the safety systems. Something was off. Something was wrong. But there was no way this was happening. He'd been through this drill 100 times. The systems were designed to prevent any kind of meltdown, no matter how small the issue. He quickly hit the intercom. This is Alex in control. I need someone to check the reactor immediately. Something's wrong. No answer. He tried again, his voice rising in panic. Hello, is anyone there?
Still nothing. He glanced at the clock. His watch showed 3:10 a.m., but his mind felt like it was moving in slow motion. No one's answering. He couldn't afford to waste time. He had to act now. Alex frantically typed commands, attempting to reset the system. The warning light flickered, and the alarm sounded louder, a constant, rhythmic noise that seemed to vibrate through his entire body. It felt as if the building itself was holding its breath, waiting for something catastrophic to happen. Suddenly, his screen flashed. System override. Reactor critical. His blood ran cold. The cooling systems, which had been running perfectly just minutes before, were beginning to fail. Slowly at first, but steadily. It was happening. Alex could feel it, the pressure building in his chest, the tightness of panic. He hit the emergency override to attempt to shut down the reactor, but nothing happened. The systems wouldn't respond. The alarms kept screaming at him, louder and more frantic by the second. He could hear his heartbeat in his ears, thudding so loudly that he almost couldn't focus. A sickening thought flashed through his mind. Was it too late? Without warning, a deep, mechanical groan filled the room. The entire building seemed to shudder, and for a brief moment, everything went black. The power blinked out, the alarm stopped, and then the lights came back on. Alex's heart was pounding in his chest. His hands were shaking. The reactor was still running, still functioning, but now, there was nothing on his screens. No numbers, no diagnostics, just an eerie silence. He couldn't breathe. The intercom crackled to life. Alex, are you there? It was his supervisor, Ray. His voice was shaky, uncertain. Ray, something's wrong. Alex managed to whisper. I don't know what happened, but I think the reactors. Before he could finish, the intercom cut off, and the lights flickered again. Alex's thoughts raced. He was alone in the control room, with a system that wasn't responding, and a reactor that could be seconds away from melting down. The plant's core was out of his control. The thought was paralyzing. He slammed his hand against the control panel in desperation. There's no time. He had to act. With the clock ticking down, Alex scrambled to pull up the backup systems. But deep down, he knew, if the backup systems fail, there's no way out. The moment before disaster was now.